Hi everyone, I am Caitlin Beckett,
And I'm Steven.
and we are here to share our testimony, which started with an infertility journey. We experienced a pretty amazing transformation and redemption process throughout our journey, and we are so excited to share it. So our story begins in May of 2016. We started to try to have a family, and a year later we found out that our chances were incredibly low, which was really frustrating, and we both kind of dealt with it in different ways. So I went to research and tried to come up with the best plan on how to fix the problems that were identified, and Steven kind of just remained optimistic about it and
Just ignored the issues.
yeah, it's all gonna be fine, no big deal. And it was the first time in our marriage that we've kind of been on different pages about things, so it was really, really hard. I found myself getting really upset at simple things and frustrated, feeling like maybe he didn't care or that he didn't realize the severity of the issue and that we needed to do something. I just felt like I needed to do something. And we had tried all the very logical things to do. And it wasn't until September of 2017 that God really found us. He really found me, and it was just incredible how he worked that out and set things up in our favor, so that we could really see him throughout this process.
So, quick backstory, I had been going to church my whole life. I met Caitlin in high school, 2008. She started coming to church too, but that was kind of the extent of it. We went to church. It was almost more out of habit. We were involved, again, more almost out of habit. It seemed like the thing that we were supposed to do. And in September of 2017, I had a friend who was going to be starting a Sunday night service ask if I would be willing to play the cajon. He knew I liked playing the drums, and the cajon is just like a little box drum you sit on. And I was like, sure, sounds fun. Yeah, let's do it. So then I went back and told Caitlin. She was not thrilled about another commitment, another night that was going to be taken away from us, just more busyness to our already busy lives.
Yeah, and I was definitely at a place where, like, I would have told anyone that, like, I believe in God, but I don't know if I believe in the Bible. So that's where I was at spiritually. And I kind of just went along with Steven and went to church because we were supposed to, and that's what he did. So that's what I did.
So I told Caitlin about it. She wasn't excited. I ended up convincing her to at least go to a practice. They were going to do a practice where all the people involved were going to meet, kind of talk about what they were planning on doing and how this was going to carry on. So I ended up convincing her to go to that, and so we did. And she loved it. She felt like that was where she was supposed to be. So we decided to commit to attending that service.
Yeah, that was definitely the first time that I've like felt like this overwhelming sense of like God's presence is here and that we're supposed to do this, and it's very like it was very unusual for me to like have that sort of feeling, but it was just sort of this thing that I couldn't describe, and I kind of got in the car and I was like, we need to be here. I don't know what this is, but we need to be here. So we go to Sunday night services, and after the first service, we were going through the book of Job and suffering and all of these things, and it really connected with the point in our lives that we were going through. It felt like incredible suffering, and we didn't know how to access God throughout that process. We were just trying to take care of it on our own. So we came home and we had an amazing conversation, and we prayed together for the first time, and yeah, that night was incredible.
It was kind of the first time I realized like maybe we aren't going to have our own kids, and maybe that's just not going to be part of our story. And finally kind of got on the same page as Caitlin here, and that started, that helped with changing our whole mindset of where we were.
So after that prayer, there's lots of crying and lots of like it was just a really emotional night, and I continued to pray for I mean it was like a good 3-hour prayer that I just continued, like I couldn't stop. And I just remember saying over and over again, like, God, take this from me. It's too big. I don't want to feel jealous anymore. I don't want to be mad at my husband all the time. I don't want to be, like, it felt like it was making me a bad person. And I just remember saying just over and over, like, take this away from me. Like, I can't handle it. It's too big. And I remember praying that I was like, how long do we do this? Like, how long do we just have disappointment after disappointment, especially given what our odds were? And so I kept praying and praying, and finally I thought that, like, God spoke to me and he said March. He said that we were supposed to wait until March. Specifically, I thought he said 22 cycles. That's when we were supposed to do something. That's when we were supposed to either try something else, or obviously my hope was that we would have a baby then. So I'm like, okay, I'm actually crazy right now. Like, I don't know what this is. And I said, God, if this is you, can you just give my husband the same number? Like, if we're supposed to wait 22 cycles, can you give him the same number?
So then the next morning she comes and talks to me and doesn't really give me any details, but just says, can you pray today? I asked God to give you some information, or I'm not sure how she phrased it, but I asked God.
I think I know how long we're supposed to wait.
Yeah. So I'm praying on and off throughout the day. She comes home. We're talking. She says, hey, did God tell you anything today? And I was like, I was praying on and off. I don't know if there was anything clear that he told me. She goes, really? Like, not a number or anything? And then when she said that, the number 6, which had been popping up in my head all day, popped up again. And I was like, maybe. I've been hearing the number 6 all day. I don't know why, but it's been very clearly in my head all day. And she kind of was bummed out and looked down, and I was like, that's not the number that you got. And she was like, no, I had heard like 22 cycles, and I was hoping maybe you'd hear the same thing. And I was like, oh, like 22 cycles? She was like, yeah, from when we started trying. And so then I started doing the math, figuring out when we started trying, and 22 cycles from when we started was exactly 6 months from that moment. And that was what I was thinking was 6 months from today, which led to March of 2017, or 2018. March of 2018 is when we were going to hear something. We weren't sure what it was going to be. Yeah, we were obviously hoping it would be that we were pregnant and going to have a baby, but the prayer was that, we would either find out we were going to have our own baby, or we would start seeking other options.
So we are, like, praying about this by ourselves and, like, really unsure of, like, how much to share it. And, like, then you told your friend that was doing the Sunday night services about it, and he was like, you need to do a testimony on this. And of course I'm, like, sweating over here, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to share this because, like, what if I'm wrong? What if it's not March?
Well, and that was the big thing about Caitlin's prayer was she had prayed that if, God did give her a baby, that she'd give that baby back to him as a testimony, which our friend that had started that Sunday night service connected the dots with Hannah in 1 Samuel, and the prayer that she had, how she had prayed if God gave her a child, she'd give him back, or give the child back to God. And so that was, a big thing, is we would, share our testimony. That would be a part of our story, regardless of what happens. That was something that we felt like we should do at some point, maybe just not so soon.
So he offers this idea of a testimony, and we're like, oh, okay, fine, we have to. So that was really, like, anxiety provoking, but we shared the testimony, and it was really incredible, but really scary.
Yeah, and that was February of 2018 now. So we're getting
everyone
close.
knows about March.
We've been praying, and yeah, we're getting close. We're excited. So, but in that testimony, Caitlin and I both shared some struggles that we had. Mine being I was addicted to pornography when I was in high school. It was something that had carried on from there. It was something I had tried to beat on my own multiple times. I kept setting up milestones. When I got to a certain point, I would stop. And, when I started dating Caitlin, and, when we got engaged, when we got married, I kept telling myself, when this happens, then I have to cut it out. It has to be done. And I could never conquer it on my own. And It was actually in December of 2018, before we gave the testimony, December of 2017. Oh, these dates are
That's okay.
messing me up. I had finally talked to Caitlin about it, and she knew that I had the struggle. She wasn't up to date as far as the addiction and how prominent in my life it was, but we had the conversation, and I broke down, and I told her that I had felt that was something that was holding us back. I wasn't sure why, but I felt like God was keeping us from having a baby because of that, and it was something that was just killing me because it was something I was living with on my own, and I felt like it was my fault, and I still couldn't get past it. And so we talked that night, and we kind of set up a game plan, and we figured out, how I could start to change my life and get rid of that and get it out of my life completely.
Yeah, and that was just an incredible thing to witness. I mean, you sharing that with so many people is terrifying, but I think that the response that you've had from that was pretty amazing, and sharing your struggles and knowing that so many other people that we didn't know were struggling with it too, and it was just really incredible to see how God could use that and use it as a way to help other people too. So we give our testimony at 2 different churches, and March comes, and we start hearing foster care. So foster care just keeps coming up, and we kind of just put out a fleece blanket, and we just kind of say, okay, so if we don't get pregnant in March, our other option is going to be foster care. So that's
it had
the
been
direction
coming
we're
up
gonna...
for months beforehand,
Yeah.
but March it seemed to pick up a lot.
So we're praying all March, and March does not happen, and it doesn't happen in the way I wanted it to. I find out that I'm definitely not pregnant, and it was the most horrible experience of my life. I think I just collapsed on the bathroom floor, and I could not stop crying, and it was just one of those moments that took my breath away, and I was so overwhelmed with the fact that my prayer didn't get answered, and it didn't get answered in the way I wanted it to. And then B, that so many people knew about March, and I just remember thinking that I did something wrong. I didn't pray enough, or I didn't do enough to earn a miracle. And my sister knew about it, my uncle knew about it, and people that I love and don't believe in God. And I just remember thinking if March would have happened, they would be a sign that they would believe. It would be this incredible miracle, because what couple with the odds that we have could predict the month that they were supposed to get pregnant, and then it actually happened. So for me, I'm feeling all of this pressure and a lot of shame from not doing enough to earn this miracle, and it just totally took my breath away. And that was March 24th of last year. And then it took a couple days. I remember for your birthday, we went up and we kind of got away for a weekend. And I remember on the drive back, we were like, okay, we have a lot of people watching this, a lot of people following our story. And we really need to do a good job of being able to praise God when we don't get the answers that we want. We know we serve a God that's not a genie, that doesn't give us what we want, and we've made a really big commitment to make sure that we did a good job of coming to terms with the fact that this was God's will and it wasn't our plan, but that His plan was going to be better than ours, and trusting that process. And that was really, really hard to do at first. But I think going through that and not having that answered prayer right away was something that has made the fact that we are having a baby today in March even more incredible. So we had to wait a whole extra year to get our prayer answered, and you can take over because I can't.
Yeah, so it was that summer we had made the commitment to start foster care training, and it's actually the first training we went to. That was the day we conceived. We finished the training, of course, even though we knew we were having our own baby, and it's something we feel very called to that we will do down the road. But it's March 29th, 2019. and we are going into the hospital in about 20 minutes to have our baby girl, Hannah Grace. Hannah from the story in Samuel, and Grace just because we realized that, this wasn't something we could achieve on our own, and it was something clearly given to us by God, and something that we deserve. So we're not saying that all fertility journeys are the same. They're not at all. This is not anyone else's story. This is our story. This is Hannah's story. So we always want to make sure that we let people know that it's not anything we did. It wasn't something that we deserved differently. It was simply a gift from God. So that's our story. It's our testimony, and we're going in very soon to have our baby. So thank you thank you for watching, and have a great day. God bless.